Hey everyone, Miss P here. I realized that when I was using my Elmo that I kept continuing on with my lesson talking about how to draw an eye, how to approach it, and also how to draw a mouth and how to approach an open mouth with teeth viewing. And so the Elmo was not, it just was stopping on me and it was very frustrating. So I'm trying this out with my iPhone with this nifty new stand I purchased on Amazon. It's like a gooseneck stand, and I have the iPhone just kind of hovering over my drawing area, and we're gonna see how this turns out, okay? So I think I left off kind of still talking about the eyeball itself and the iris. I think we talked a little bit about that, and then I was starting to talk to you about how to draw the eyelid. So I'm gonna go back in, this is my third time, hopefully this works, about how to approach drawing that eye. So I've already explained the whole bit about the eyeball, the iris, the reflective light, the pupil, okay? And so what we want to do now is we want to place this eyeball in someone's head, right? So we have to imagine, again, we talked about that eye socket that is in the skeleton when we talked about this right here, okay? So we're placing it in that eye socket, and then, so it's kind of sunken in a little bit, right? It's sunk in the face. The forehead is sticking out more, and so is the eyebrow area. So the eyeball's placed in the socket area. Now, if this is someone's right eye, and this is the iris, whether you have blue eyes, green eyes, brown eyes, doesn't matter. The outside edge of the iris is almost going to have like a line around it, or a darker edge. The pupil's going to be super dark, okay? And then I have placed a little sketchy circle there to leave, to remind me that that is that reflection that I want to leave, because our eyes are moist, okay? So they're going to have some kind of a glossy, reflective light that's in there, depending on the light source. The iris itself, whatever color it is, and I'm doing this super fast, not with much detail, but I'm just trying to show you that there's kind of a radial pattern that happens within the iris. So blue eyes tend to be lighter and green eyes than brown eyes. You can have light brown eyes, you can have dark brown eyes, but there's going to be some kind of a pattern in there. We can probably work on that for an hour, but just for the purpose of you understanding, there's usually some kind of a radial pattern that happens within the iris itself. And radial, if you remember, kind of goes from the center out. And I'm really glad that I remembered to leave that reflective white area there, okay? So now is the time where I'm going to put the eyelids on. We rarely will see the white above the iris. We'll see a little bit down below. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to draw kind of a line here, because most of the time if our eyes are in a relaxed state, we will even cover part of the iris. And then it tends to curve this way into the tear duct area. And then the bottom part of the eye, a little rounder like this, and then it leads back up into the tear duct. You will see a little bit of white underneath the iris, but you also have to save room depending on your angle. Do you see the thickness of that lower eyelid? Okay, so you want to make sure you include that, because where the bottom eyelashes come in is not going to be here, it's going to be just beyond that. And when we do put the lower eyelashes in, I want you to think that on the right side, they're going to curve towards the center of the eye. And when you're on the left side, they're going to curve this way. By the time we get in the center, they're a little bit straighter, okay? The upper eyelid sometimes takes the form of the eyeball itself. So here's that sketch line that we have with the eyeball. So sometimes our eyelid curves over like it's a garage door that curves over it closes over a curved surface, okay? And then this part is usually in a little bit of shadow, and this is where we're supposed to put our eyeshadow, they say, to emphasize that area there, because then it blends into our eyebrow area, which again, I'm doing very fast. Your direction of your lines should indicate the direction that the hair is going. Some people have very bushy eyebrows. Some people have their hairs all over the place. If you're trying to be all manicured, then you will brush your eyebrows to go in a direction like that. And they usually taper over here, okay? But I want you to understand that this area here is sticking out more than this area here. This area here is in shadow, so therefore we're going to add some shadow leading up into it. Now I'm doing cross hatching because I'm using a pen, but you could blend this with your pencil. So this is a little bit more in shadow. If the light source is coming from the upper left, then this side of the eyelid, because it is a round curved surface, that this part of the eyelid will probably be in a little bit more shadow than the left part, okay? Now, we have no upper lashes, so we have to deal with that. And sometimes I just start with a little bit of a thicker, dark line. And the reason I do that is when we do eyelashes, what they do is they come from our eyelid and they come out and then up, right? So they kind of curl up. So they kind of come out and up, out and up, out and up, out and up. And that kind of creates a line, right? When they're gathered together like that. So I sometimes just kind of throw that in, and then I start going down and up, what I just explained to you, down and up, down and up. And you do that enough times, that will kind of create that dark line. So the eyelashes, depending if you have real lashes or falsies or long lashes or short lashes, depending on what picture you're looking at or what object or reference you are looking at. So again, just like the bottom eyelashes, I want these from the center to go curve out and up and then towards the center, and then the left, they're gonna curve towards the center this way. So it's kind of curving this way, all right? All right, excuse me. The eyelashes now are going to create a cast shadow on the eyeball itself. So I'm going to shade, even though it's the white of the eye, it's not going to be that white. I'm going to go about a quarter of the way down, and I'm going to shade the white part of the eyeball. Well, now to make it balanced, I need to shade the iris. The same, we'll use this line here about a quarter of a way down. The iris itself should be a little bit in shadow, just right underneath the eyelashes like that. So now it's really starting to take form. It's starting to show volume, okay? Now the eyeball, remember it's round, and if the light source is coming from here, this part of the eyeball itself might even be a little bit in shadow. And the eyelid, the edge of the eyelid might be lighter than the eyeball itself, because if the light's coming down, it's hitting the top of the eyelid. So it's okay to shade that a little bit, right? I'm kind of thinking this iris could be a little bit darker. Now that I'm throwing in more value and shading into the eye itself, I feel like I can darken some areas. I feel like they're kind of looking a little washed out, okay? And then of course, you, depending on your photo, look at what's happening in the ear duct. Tear duct, you'll probably see that there's some shine and some moisture there as well. Now where that eyeball is, if you remember, it's still over here, that this eye, the skin below our eye will probably contour over that eyeball a little bit and then taper out into our cheeks. So we might see kind of some value like that over here, because we're still dealing with that sphere that's underneath our eyelids here, okay? Now the eye socket, which is like right here, right? And then our nose separating the two eyes. And they say it's usually about, eyes are about an eye width apart. So if I were to go like this, our next eye would start somewhere over here, okay? A set of eyes. I'm not gonna bother doing that, but they say it's about whatever this length is, space that in between like this, and then your eyeball over here, okay? Or your eye, rather. So because we're in that eye socket and the bridge of the nose here, depending on your light source, this will probably be in a little bit of shadow here as well, because the nose is protruding further than the eye and is causing kind of a cast shadow. Okay, so there you have it for an eye. I hope that helps, guys. I'd like to talk to you a little bit more now about a mouth. How do you approach a mouth? Well, I'm going to start, I'm not looking at a photo because I'm just kind of teaching you the basics. I'm going to draw the line, which is the slit in our mouth and a closed mouth, and we'll start there. Okay, so I'm going to start with a circle or a sphere for the middle upper lip. I'm going to put what I call like 2 jelly beans here, and then 2 larger jelly beans for the bottom lip. Now the reason I'm doing this schematic drawing, is because you're trying to simplify the form. There's Stitchy barking at something. You want to simplify the form a little bit by breaking it down into the simple shapes. But it's also important because this is very much how I'm going to go about shading it. Again, referring to the light coming from the upper left. If I know how to shade a bean or an egg, like you guys have done, then it would be similar like this over here. Okay, so now that I know how to shade that, I know how to shade all these areas. Now I'm going to draw the contour line outlining the upper lip. So I'm going to come up. When I get to the middle of the lip, I'm going to go down. Most lips, not all, have this kind of curve. And then the lower lip, like so. So now we have a contour line, but now we need to go about shading it. We know how to shade a sphere when the light source is on the upper left. So I'm going to go ahead and shade that sphere. And then I'm going to shade this bean over here, where it's a little bit darker on the bottom than it is on the top. And I'm trying to do this fairly quickly for you so you're not falling asleep listening to the lovely Stevie Nicks in the background. If you're interested in this version of the song, I'm on Spotify right now, and I put in Stevie Nicks demo tapes. This is her actually writing some of the songs for her and Fleetwood Mac. And I just love it because it's so raw and unfinished and not so commercial. Okay, so the upper lip, that looks pretty good. Remember, it's round, so I'm going to try and fade it up. If I had a pencil right now, I would blend that a little bit better. But I kind of wanted to use a pen to show you the direction of my lines. So now we're going to deal with the lower lip. I want to point out something. If we're looking at someone, a side profile, and here's their upper lip, and here's their lower lip, and their chin. I want you to understand, most of the time light comes from above, and what happens is that light hits the lower lip, so the lower lip tends to be lighter than the upper lip, because the plane of this lip is here, and the plane of this lip, the upper lip, is like this, so light doesn't bend and it doesn't reach up there. So as a generalization, you want to make sure that your lower lip is a little bit lighter than your upper lip. There is going to be a cast shadow from the upper lip caused on here, showing on the lower lip like this. But we're going to shade, kind of keeping the cross contour theory in mind, where if I were to draw lines, just like I explained with the eyelashes, it's going to go up like this and up like this. So as I'm shading, I want to keep that in mind. My pencil strokes or my cross-hatching strokes should kind of go in that direction. So the lower part is definitely going to be darker than the upper part of the lower lip. And there's usually a glossy kind of shine here. If someone has wet lips or they have lip gloss on, we want to leave that kind of light there. And you'll even see, as you're looking at some of your photos, you'll kind of see that the creases and the wrinkles in the lips will kind of use that cross contour theory. The lower lip sticks out, which is going to cause a shadow below. Don't want it to look like a little goatee or something, right? And then the Cupid's bow here. Again, I want you to imagine that the mustache area is curved. If you feel your face, as long as you've washed your hands, this curve that goes around like this. So the way that the light hits it, it's going to be lighter in some areas, and then it can get a little bit darker. But on this side, it's definitely going to be darker because our face is round and our mustache area is round. So this is going to be in a little bit more shadow. And then over here, because this curves this way, but then this curves inwards, right? So what's going to happen is the light is not going to be able to get to that left side here. So we're going to make that a little bit darker and start slowly fading to get a little bit lighter. This will be lighter than the right side of the face, okay? I hope this helps explaining a little bit. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or add a comment below the video, and I will try and clear up things for you. I hope you guys are doing well, really thinking about you, and remember, don't stress yourself out. Baby steps here. We're taking this slowly. Peace out.